7. All right. Well, what is up, everybody? Keith Jameson, go back in here at 231 across. I almost did the DFS industry, Alex. I'm like doing so many DFS recordings right now, but across the Sorare industry, actually, we probably should call that, right? Like at this point.
It's becoming an industry in itself. Yes.
So how do
Yes.
you feel about that? So actually, before we go, in case you're under a rock, the 6 people that listen are under a rock, and just like listen to us before they see everything else in Sorare. Sorare now has NBA. So what are the initial thoughts, Hoop?
Well, do you remember I'm buying time because I'm buying a card right now.
This is the best type of content, is buying time so we can read the emotions on your face.
I just paid a little more for a Max Muncy rare than I sold him for initially.
It's okay. It's going to the moon.
It's true.
LeBron is taking us to the moon. Okay.
I love it. God, I'm regretting it already. Great. So you remember my initial reaction to the NBA news, which was just
no yesterday supporter.
Okay. I said yuck.
Yeah, I
just
hate
because
that. I hate that answer.
So yuck for me because I love the NBA. I have been a bigger NBA fan than I have been an MLB fan in recent years because it's a little more exciting and baseball is more of a grind. Apropos.
Nice plug.
Yeah, you like that? So I love basketball. I loved NBA DFS, even though I was no good at it. I never really cared for year-long fantasy basketball, but I said yuck because I just didn't plan on playing it because it's going to be so pay to win. Was my initial thought.
Thank you, because I want to go into that because that's the number one thought across.
Yeah. So that's the thing with the NBA is, like in just an open all-star competition is going to be that. Like you need all-stars. You must have 5 all-stars or else you're going to get buried over the course of a couple of games. Like if you're doing 3-4 games and your stars play everyone.
We'll debate that.
Okay. I can't see, like JJ Redick was the first person who came to my mind. He's not even playing anymore.
JJ Redick.
I can't see, Taylor Horton Tucker coming in and just balling out for, like 4 games on a 1-game slate. I can
based on his new role, maybe.
That's true, but still, I can't see him overcoming a lineup of, Luka and the pick your shooting guard, LeBron, etc.
So before we move to the next thing, so is your reaction still yuck, or is it like improving?
It's fantastic for the platform. I'm very excited.
We
for
agree
what it
with
means.
that.
Yeah,
any sort of takes, the what is it? The Sorare morons, right? Sorare morons needs to find anybody that has to take that this is going to wreck the platform, because I don't see any sort of outcome that this isn't just huge.
It's great. It's great.
I've already talked to like 10 DFS people who know that I'm on soccer Sorare.
Yeah.
Football Sorare, whatever we want to call it. Hold on, are we still greater than the dollar, than the euro? So it's still soccer, right?
Yeah.
All right, still soccer.
Right after we just made it that we were going to change it on the pod, and we were definitely going to say football. Now we're back.
Whatever. It is football. It does say football until they get the NFL, but I think the NFL has like. By the way, it's so funny. I know I'm like going way off topic, but I know that the NFL has the thing with rainmakers, so I don't think that that's even like a thing. Like I don't even think that's possible, at least for a year. I think rainmakers is exclusive.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the case.
Just quick pause. All right, so the not the greatest like interlude, as now I am recording while feeding a baby, but we were talking about rainmakers at the NFL. I've seen like all this chatter that the next step is for Sorare to get NFL. And I don't see that path for a little bit, like at least a year. So I think that needs to pipe down.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the NFL to now find a new partner, and they're already big enough partners with
DraftKings.
Yeah. So
now what I will say is I really do hope that Rainmakers. I I don't wish for harm for anybody, but if Rainmakers is not a huge success, and then it does make the NFL and like let's say the NBA and MLB over the next year are huge successes, I do love that for Sorare because I do think if Sorare gets the NFL, then if the NBA doesn't put it to the moon, NFL definitely would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the thing with the NBA, the reason the NBA is so key in the ecosystem is because I think Laird ran the numbers, and I'll look up exactly what he said, but something like 78%, if not more, of the MLB users right now are also playing soccer, which means that we still have a very, very heavy European contingent that's playing here.
Which makes sense.
So when you compare, MLB and its presence overseas to the NBA and its presence overseas,
It's night and day.
a little bit of a difference. Yeah. So
It's
like
I mean the
you're gonna
NBA truly is popular overseas,
yes,
like
it is. So like I mean, there's gonna be money in it. There's going to be money on the platform in NBA from day one. So I think that will be more enticing to the NBA crowd, first of all. And then you think about how the NBA was the first league with like a real NFT presence. So the people
right.
who already like Top Shot know how. My biggest thing right now in an American audience, and like I talked about it with my brother, is like the barrier of entry monetarily is one thing, but the barrier of entry in getting into crypto, buying crypto, and overcoming the bias against it, which I think is fair to a degree, but those are all huge barriers of entry, and the Top Shot crowd isn't necessarily going to have that. You could buy Top Shots with cash, but like they're familiar with NFTs, and I don't think that barriers can be as big. So I think those are two just absolute great things for
So
NBA.
so on two things on that. One, I've brought a few people on in the last few weeks, and I believe that they actually have kind of bridged the crypto barrier as big as they can. I think like the Moon Pay and that stuff like works great. Like somebody can just load up a credit card, and we can debate if it's good or bad that they do or they don't know that they're buying Ethereum, so to speak. Like it does clearly say that, but they just want to get on the platform. So they're
Right,
just
that
like,
they won't
whatever.
sell their card and then immediately get cash back.
Yeah. I mean, years back, I still remember, the Andrews had Abasso on talking about all that. Like, and I thought it was a great conversation, but it's also like a great conversation that could scare the living crap out of people too.
Yeah,
So you have to like be ready for that
yeah,
because, it's the whole, you're actually invested in Ethereum more than you are invested in stuff.
yeah.
But regardless, so I think that, but you just brought up Top Shot, what I think is like the one thing I was thinking about this last night, as we switch topics because NBA was just such a big topic, I wanted to hit that. Is that I don't know the lineage. Somebody could put together the lineage of NFTs for me, okay?
Hmm.
But if they put it like, and I'm sure it's like Bored Apes or Crypto Punks, maybe it's like the first like big one. But in the span of sports NFTs, it was Top Shot
Yeah,
that
and
blew it
nothing
up
else really.
and blew
Yeah,
it up.
right,
Well, I mean, it's so rare. If you look at the little
right.
charts, was probably it was up there because of the
Hmm.
European, but Top Shot blew the doors open and had like this amazing opportunity, and they completely bottled it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we've already seen people talking about suing Dapper because they talked about how they were going to bring a fantasy game in and never did,
I
which,
mean, people
yeah,
people are just people have silly ideas.
yeah.
So let's just kind of like jump off of that though, and maybe this is a good time for we'll talk for the reason. But what were you
You
gonna say?
gotta, I was gonna say, you gotta tell me why
Why
you
it's not
disagree
okay?
with my
Let's
starts.
just
Yeah,
let's just jump to it.
yeah,
Okay, so I would just say this. So I'm a big DFS NBA guy. Actually, I toned down last year because of babies, all that stuff that makes it a little bit more difficult because DFS, and this will be really interesting with Sorare, how I think first and foremost, I may I may change my mind on the argument I'm going to make if it's weekly. Okay. Which I think makes a ton of sense to do it weekly. I think that what I'm going to say is going to lose a little bit of credence. But if it's like every 2 days or every 3 days, playing enough DFS, there are runs and opportunities and Tankapaloozas and teams like your boy Sextown, Colin Sexton, will be one of the top players on the platform, depending on the scoring. Because I heard Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo talk about it. I literally laughed in my car as they were talking about that trade. But they're like, because Colin Sexton, when your Cavs were bad a few years ago, had insane numbers, and they joked like, would Ainge actually go through and they go, man, this guy could put up great numbers, so they don't think that I'm full out tanking, and put up great numbers that make us lose, and
Yeah.
then they can like win. So you're gonna there are a lot of guys like that are empty number guys that just have an opportunity for teams. My Magic had plenty of guys over the last 6 to 7 years that were empty number guys. Sexton was the first guy that came to mind based on things because he's going to take 30 shots. The only person that can stop Colin Sexton from taking 30 shots is Jordan Clarkson.
Oh my God.
Trying to take 30 as well.
Yeah. I kind of hope they don't trade. I heard they
I
were
think they're
chopping
trading
him.
him.
Yeah, I kind of hope they don't though, because that would be.
Just be funny. Just
Well,
literally
they
they
played
fight.
together already. I think they overlapped in Cleveland, and I believe they butted heads. I believe there was.
Because they had to both shoot the ball at the same time.
Yeah, right. Because you can only play with one ball.
So
Yeah,
that's my answer, because and we also know too that like the team that comes in my head, like until they got oh my God, Ja Morant. The Grizzlies legitimately for 3 years in NBA DFS, the final 2 months, they would play 6 guys. It was a 6-man rotation. They would all get injured. They wouldn't have enough signings, and they would just like, F it. We're not making the playoffs. We need to get a top pick. And they would just roll out 6 dudes. And so literally DFS was, all right, I'm going to play. At that point, LeBron wasn't getting injured, but I'm like playing LeBron. I'm going to play Westbrook because he's just, at the Thunder, and he's, doing whatever he has to do to get a triple double. I'm playing 4 Grizzlies, and then I'm playing a Trailblazer, like wherever the injuries were. That's how DFS was, and it's just true star stud. So I think we're glossing over that aspect of the NBA if we say it's just going to be a race to the top. You're going to need those top guys, but guess what?
Yeah.
You need them in baseball, and you need them in football to really be top of the leaderboard competitive.
See, I don't think you do in baseball, and that's like why I love it so much. I
mean,
right now
you don't.
The top starter.
That's Strider.
Yes and no. I don't think you do this week. He only had 36.
Majority of weeks when I've seen people
majority of weeks,
stuff.
yes, yeah, but he's not even like a star. He's just an outlier, so that's tough. But with NBA DFS, I mean, 9 days out of 10, if there wasn't a salary cap, wouldn't you just be taking Luka, Giannis? I don't want to use LeBron anymore because he's not LeBron anymore, but like, wouldn't you do that if there was no salary cap?
Of course. But hold on, can I just flip this a little bit on you? If it was soccer DFS, I would take Messi, Neymar,
right,
Mbappe, Kimmich, right.
Of course.
So,
and that's my problem.
And guess what?
That's my problem with soccer.
And guess what? In baseball, if there's no thing, I would take whoever the top starter was.
Yeah.
Which is I listened to your last one, and you even like alluded to it, like with the final scorers. Who was it? It was like Max, DeGrom, and I don't know baseball enough. Like the third starter, Garrett Cole, right? Like they're all. But
you're going to win significantly more in football and basketball than in baseball doing that. And
correct.
I think you're going to win more. I think you're going to win more in basketball significantly than in even football going that way. Honestly, like I'm saying you take a set of 5 players, not necessarily the 5 best matchups in a week. I'm like, because it doesn't matter if Luka is playing I don't even remember who won the championship. It doesn't matter if Luka's playing the Bucks or he's playing the Magic. It doesn't matter if Giannis is playing. I can't use the Bucks now, but whoever or the Magic, like
Golden
he's
State.
gonna
Golden
State.
Yeah, that's who won. That's who won. It took me a second.
Of course, yeah, of course. How could I forget that? Yeah, I think if you just ran them out, like you just bought those 5 players and ran them out, I think you're going to win more often than not, and more often than if you went with, Donnarumma and Hakimi, Kimmich, Messi, Neymar.
Sure.
and bother them more.
I feel like I'm taking the more difficult end
Yeah, you
of
are.
the argument, because you could just be like, well, Giannis is better than Paulo Banchero. I'm like,
Yeah.
fine, Alex. Yes, you won that, but I guess there'll be scarcities, right?
Right.
Though I do wonder if they will do something to combat that, because I think depending on that's another like little and I don't know for a fact that this is the truth, but I think there's this thought process with Sorare that all the people doing the football game now are going to be pulled to have to do the NBA game, and we're having to be pulled for the MLB game. And I'm pretty sure there was an announcement that the teams are like different. If there's a team for MLB, a team for NBA, a team for football. So I would assume whoever the game makers are for NBA have some knowledge of the NBA and do know that it's a stars driven league. And maybe there is even a limit on like you have this many superstar tier guys,
Right.
and you can play two of them. Like that would be cool. And
Right.
I think that would really make it quite a fun game.
That's where it gets fun for me. Yeah, I mean, like obviously they're going to have an all-star division, and you can play your 5 all-stars if you have them, and maybe the prizes are better and that,
Sure.
whatever. But I would,
Incentivize people to pay an insane amount for Giannis,
yeah,
Luca, because why, if you're so rare, why would you not incentivize somebody to blow
exactly.
their load and pay you the money via auctions, right?
Right. Yes. Um, yeah. I would just have way more fun. Like the way that specialist is set up would be way more fun for me. Like I would rather have
Oh
one
God,
star and have to pick
how
through
good
stars and then have to pick some bench guys.
how good would that be, by the way? Well,
That would
not
be
even
fun.
you can't do bench guys, because any bench guy can become starter guy real
Yeah.
quick.
Right.
So it would
Tier 5, tier 4.
right.
Yeah.
I truly, I mean, I love I actually love underdog more than specialists, because
Yeah.
specialists in football, you can go the limited, but there's a lot of volatility there. I love underdog.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, let's take Kimmich, Messi, Neymar. Let's just take all these guys off the table. And this week, Jens Tornstra is the best play. Or
Right.
this week,
Right.
my biggest win ever, right? Jordan Morris,
Yeah.
Sebastian Blanco, Bryce Duke, and Jorge Figal, or something like that. And if you don't know who those people are, you're not supposed
Right.
to.
Yeah.
But you could win with them. So that stuff would be
Yeah.
awesome. And I do
Yes.
feel like, I know MLB is in test pilot, but I could imagine MLB doing some stuff similar to that next year too.
I hope so. I hope so. I would have a lot more fun. And at this point, I mean, I have over 100 cards in
How
MLB.
did that happen?
I bought every because I can use limited and rare competitions. I just have
Sure.
every good limited pitcher, and I just
Well, the great news, you just rotate it out.
right.
Sean talks to me a lot on the football side of things. Sean being PSU fans too. He'll be like, Keith, you've got to get, super rare and rare goalie combos. And I'm like, okay, Sean, so you're just saying I just need to drop, 3, 4 ETH on like 5 different combinations. And you'll be saying, he's like, yeah. It's like, okay.
I'm on it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Let me go find that 20 ETH lying around.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in the pocket from yesterday.
Yeah. Right. Leftover from the store.
So no. So I think that's a very, very fair argument about NBA, but I also think that we have to, the team that is smart enough to negotiate a deal with, let's just be real, the NBA, I think, is the best run sports organization in the world, unless like I'm missing some, unless cricket overseas is some like unbelievably run organization, or if you tell me that Australian rules football, like they fine, like I know Jack Donkey about that stuff, but at least in the States, like the NBA is the model association. So if they're hitching their wagon to so rare, I go Adam Silver, that dude, sharp as hell.
Yeah.
I'm sure his licensing guys, sharp as hell.
Yeah.
This says a lot to me about so rare that they were able to even get the NBA to want to work with them.
Especially after what happened with Top Shot. I think, like the NBA are early adopters with things, and that may have caused them a bit of an issue with Top Shot, and that maybe they got into the game too early without understanding, like we need actual utility. And you got guys like Steph Curry out there hawking Bored Apes and stuff, and you're seeing your community already kind of rallying around NFTs, and they're like, yeah, let's go after it. But now that they saw what happened, and the fact that they still decided to go with another NFT partner, I I think it's shrewd. I think they're, yeah, like you said,
But I'm
I have
sure
long
there's
agreed with
others.
you about them being the smartest. Yeah, right.
And I'm sure there's other projects that have done, and they had the opportunity to go, what I think it was the Andrews were talking about, like, is the EPL going to try to like just do their own thing, or like they're supposed, like the NBA with those type of guys and that amount of money that they have, I'm sure they could have done that too. But
Right.
I haven't seen somebody make that point, and that was one of the things I had written down. I really wanted to is like people should actually take a step back and realize how good and how important this is, that the NBA and MLB, like two massive things, are hitching their wagon to Sorare. Like that means like the team like is flat out just like crushing it, or the business model that they present, go, we're on board.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I agree. It's cool. It's just it's nice to see bigger parties buying in, and
Yeah.
that's all you really need.
So
That's
so
all you really need
Alex,
to know.
so Alex, when is your Spencer Strider Limited going to be worth $1 million? I think that's the most important question that we can answer on this pod.
Not now. I do think there is going to be a slight dip in
Sure.
prices for MLB.
Because
Just
of NBA, or just because MLB is almost going to end, and that's what happens all the time.
yes. Yes. I
I
think
heard,
both.
I saw an argument that NBA is going to cause MLB to dip, and I was just like, or are you just doing a self fulfilling prophecy that MLB is about to end, that it's going to dip because this is what always happens in all the whole sort of system, but you can call it because of the NBA.
Right. I think it's both. I mean, I do think it's both. I think there's going to be a temporary rise because if I remember correctly, if I know MLB, they are going to be so annoying about Sorare during the postseason. I think during the playoffs, you are going to see a Sorare ad at least once an inning, if
What's the
not like
reason? What's the
once a
reason, do you
half.
think?
It's because they're dumb. They're horrible. Their marketing team is ridiculous. But I think they're just gonna
Watch,
pound
rinse, repeat.
yeah, I think they're just going to pound us over the head with it, and it'll work. I mean, what do they say? You have to see an ad 7 times before you remember what company it is. I think they're going to just beat us over the head. We're going to get a reaction on Twitter, and people are going to be like, "Oh, another NFT project," and then eventually you're going to see people posting their wins, and then all of those people are going to hop on board, and then hopefully they run. I mean, realistically, I would hope that they would run MLB and NBA.
Right.
But I doubt the MLB
You have
will allow that.
Mike Trout and Steph Curry are making their server teams together.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
And
I
instead
know
of
that.
Hans Vanaken going, "Hey, he scores pretty good," Steph Curry looks at Mike Trout and goes, "Hey, you're pretty good."
Yeah, right.
Maybe a
I know
little bit more clout than we love the Lord,
a little
but
bit.
a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't think MLB will allow it, but I
You
think
don't
the
think
best
Carlos Heel on a server commercial will
doesn't move
move
the
the
needle.
needle? It would for Sean.
That's
Sean
true.
would be like, "I
We
retire, I quit. I just
we
need
love
this in my life
we
on
love
loop."
Carlos. I do think they're going. They'll probably have to regulate how NBA players play so rare because they're going to be on the platform.
Yeah. Well, so actually, it's amazing that you say that. Like you have a segue without knowing, like I want where I wanted you to segue because I forgot something. So yes, and I don't have a comment on that. Like they'll want to figure something out with that, but I mean, it might just be they can't play NBA, and those guys might have to get they can collect and they can do whatever, but they can't.
They were collecting top shots, but yeah, they can't directly affect the outcome of that.
Right, like as the Tim Donaghy Untold came out and stuff, right? So I think I'm not worried about that. I know the team in silver had a convo on that, so
Sure.
I have zero concerns. But I will say the thought I did have, I saw that did you see who they brought on as like their first two like player board advisors?
I saw Rudy and
Which makes
Blake.
sense, Blake
Right.
Griffin. Okay.
Blake,
Which
yeah.
Blake Griffin 8 years ago would have been like the guy to
Yeah.
get as he's jumping over Kias, as he's I didn't even like Blake Griffin. I was always surprised that he had any sort of like draw. Like I didn't think he was like overly charismatic or anything like that, but
Yeah.
whatever. But like they have to get like a Steph Curry or a at this point, everybody loves Giannis. Or I don't think LeBron. Like I don't even think that's the conversation. LeBron is too. I don't even want to call LeBron
Corporate.
too shrewd. Corporate. Thank you. That's a perfect word. Or
LeBron's a
can they
lot of
get Ja
things.
Morant? Can they get Ja Morant? Can they get like one of the Dame Lillard? Like, can they get one of these transcendent guys that everybody knows on board? Because if that's the case, then I think that that's what the NBA needs. Because once like Steph Curry says buy something, guess what people do?
Yeah.
They
Steph
buy
will do it.
whatever Steph. You think
They'll
it's
get
Steph? You
they'll
think
get
it's Steph?
Steph. Yeah. Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
see
I
that.
think I think maybe they're taking their time with it, but yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has reservations about it too. But I think I think he'll be the guy.
I
And
mean,
I
he
would
would be the guy. I mean, he is like I don't know the rankings, but he has to be more popular than LeBron at this point. Like LeBron's more knowledgeable, but I think popularity, like consensus upon public opinion, I
it's
think it's
possible.
Steph.
It's possible. It's
And didn't
possible.
Steph have like an 8 as his
Yes.
like
I
yeah,
think he still does.
that's like his like
I think it's his
photo.
avatar on Twitter.
Okay. Right. So we know
Yeah.
he's already into that space.
Yeah. And then I can think of a couple of guys. Kyle Kuzma, I believe, is big into the space. Like,
Love it, but not moving the needle.
yeah, right. Yeah. What is Steph Curry? Okay, he's not rocking the Bored Ape anymore. So, um,
So I'm gonna separate from that as it's tanking.
you're right. Yeah,
It's good to ride it while it's hot.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's a lot of obviously Kyle Kuzma's not going to move the needle, but there's a lot of people already in the space, and it's just going to
Correct.
get the Twitter. It's going to get the
Right. Because
Twitters.
these guys, I mean, and again, like that younger demographic is, the coolest part I think about Sorare going to NBA. And then I do want we'll jump off NBA for a little bit and just talk about some other topics. But I do think that's another aspect too, is I don't think football is getting the younger demographic. Baseball sure as hell is not after the younger demographic. But Sorare, and then I think the free to play element will be really, really big. Like how much of a hook that can get people. Last question, if we want to guess. What's your guess on scarcities? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it'll be the same as MLB. Um, I think it'd be good if they added a 1 out of 10.
I think it's more.
Yeah, probably.
I hate
You're
to tell
probably
you
right.
this. I think it's more.
No, that's fine. I'm not gonna hurt my feelings because I'll probably be playing in whatever the lowest pool is, just because I'm not gonna have any money
But
liquid.
that's a great way to do it. Like that's what I'm still doing in MLB, and I can still get some kicks.
Right.
I try and keep this PG, so I say kicks and giggles. Yes, I know that that's not the same, but
You said something about blowing loads earlier, so I think we already
I mean,
crossed that
there's
threshold.
there's whatever of blowing loads of cash.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Oh, all right. Got it. That's how we normally talk about it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Well, in the Sorare world, but
Kind of.
like you can have fun with that. I think like I had the fun of Sorare. Like so. All right. One other topic that I saw on an argument that I was just like, as I'm like scrolling through, I'm like, no, like stop. Somebody made a comment about how if they do this again and there's not E thresholds, then this is like going to be further problem. Okay, so I'm gonna try to. I got called a whale, which just felt really, really weird because I don't know, but I mean, it just all just defines your gallery size, right? I'm like 25 ETH gallery. So if that's on the football side, if that's a whale, then okay. Cool. Thanks. I don't know. But like, so I was like, somebody was asking me something like, well, you're not in touch. You're a whale. To me, whale is like 100 ETH. But anyhow, to me, at this point in football, and this is going to make it probably be an unpopular opinion, I don't get a rise. I don't get like super excited about chasing E threshold. Okay, like it's great. I want to hit it. I want to do all that stuff, but that's not like priority one. Priority one is chasing down cards. Like that's what this platform is about. I think like I look back to even when I was E thresholding, and those were great. But you know what were the nights that I was like not sleeping and was so excited was when I won a card.
Right.
So I think people that say that too much are devaluing just how exciting it is. I can remember winning a common Messi and
Yeah.
being so pumped.
Some of my common wins have been some
So,
of my favorite days.
but can you remember the days that you won double thresh? Like, were you like over the moon, or were you just like relieved?
Yeah, yes, because yeah, more relief, especially because mine normally happens by way of a sub goal from my
Right.
forwards,
Which that stuff is
plural.
great. But guess what? You'd
So
even be more crazy if that sub goal got you a tier 3.
right, exactly. And tier three probably my tier three will probably sell for less than the threshold, mostly because it's going to happen
And
unlimited.
they do, but it was still
Right.
more exciting to have the chance of like a mistake tier 3 or something like
Which
that.
I did have and it sold for 0.2
Right. And now he's like,
and
he's a lot.
0.8. Yeah.
A little bit
Um,
less than that, but he's a baller.
last I looked, he was 0.8.
It's dipped down, but I've
Yeah.
looked at his
And
super.
end of
So
season, yeah.
yeah.
So funny you mentioned that because I've actually thought about bailing on my all-star rare football team because I just bought a keeper again for 8, 10 game weeks of utility, and it cost me zero point 0.2, and I could have bought a Yandy Diaz super rare for that yesterday because
So
I
so
want to
what
move
did
up.
I say to you? What did I say to you when you actually made this up to in Discord? Do you remember?
I think you said something about moving down to limited
Mm-mm,
all-star
mm-mm.
or just what, skimping?
No, I said fun. I said
Yeah,
chase
right.
fun.
Right, but I have a hard time with that.
I will just say this. This is like a big thing to me on this platform because I see so many people like, when you're just bored and you go into general chat or you just go anywhere. I see so many people so stressed and so like down on it. And I remember too, like, so I was like flipping for a while and flipping stressed the living crap out of me.
Right.
Like, I would like miss a Fabrizio Romano news blast because I
Right.
was in a showing and I would like get into the car and be like so bummed, like, oh, I could have made whatever if I was by it. And I stopped doing it because it was taking fun out of the game. So I truly believe, like, I get it. Like, I think if you can just, you know, almost just be oblivious to the results and just go, here, I'm going to run the team. And if it works out, great. And if it's not, whatever, that's
Yeah.
cool. But if it's like getting you stressed, I think just run away from it. Like,
It's probably the right thing to do,
and go
honestly.
have fun. Like, if you're having fun, if you can take that 0.2 ETH and go have just a ton of fun on the MLB side and go, man, I'm gonna be up to 140 cards. I'm gonna be the whale over here, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think that's
The only
my
problem is
personal opinion.
the problem is uh all of my cards, generally all of my rare cards are Asian, so their prices are all way down. So I might have to wait until February and hope these guys peak and sell them and then get in on the guys who are projected rest of the season well. But regardless, yeah, you're on mute, buddy. You're on mute.
I was gonna say, sorry, I was gonna say you can probably crank out over 10 weeks, 0.2 ETH or whatever, but you just need to kind of get that element of stress off of you.
Yeah, yeah. I just now I'm stressed because I feel like I'm not getting into the super rare market fast enough. I'm always going to be stressed. That's the thing. That's what we really need
but
to hit on here.
but you do correct, and all of us are in some forms, right? And
Yes.
every single different level, right? I don't have a good enough team to compete for threshold. I don't have a good enough team to compete for cards. I don't have a good enough team to compete for tier zeros. Like, it's just doesn't matter where you're at. It's always a different thing. But like, the center of it is a game.
Yeah.
I do think that the platform as a whole, yes, it's a high risk game with stuff, but I kind of, whenever I get stressed, like, or I just miss a reward, or I'm like a terrible example and hypocrite over the last like 3 weeks because I was like joking with somebody's, including you, like I'm just burning to the ground. It's time to go to the ground. Like, I'm not winning. Like, my cards suck. Carlos Heel just cost me something because he can't even get 37 up 3-0 at home, whatever, right? You get really down. And then all of a sudden it turns around in 1 week and you're like, oh, you know what? False
Yep.
alarm, guys, false alarm. It's
Yep.
great. It's great again. Or
Yeah.
you get a podium. Not that I've had too many of those. You get a podium like I don't know about you guys, but I'm the best at this. I'm the greatest. Right? It's
It
just
does it does
it's a good
feel that
idea.
way sometimes. And I change course plenty, and probably to the uh detriment of my gallery and how much I have in it.
So I will say this. I mentioned this a few times to a few people. I do think as a whole, and I don't know if this is about baseball, if this is on baseball, so comment to me, but I think as a whole in football, most people hold their cards too long, which is like the antithesis of like what Sorare probably does want. And like, but you know, I don't know if I've said this on this pod, but like, a guy that starts doing really good too well, like he scores in like 4 straight, and now you are crowning him the greatest footballer in the world. Oh, I did bring this up with Nacho last week, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the answer was get the hell off,
Right.
right? Get out.
Yeah.
And I think is that the case in baseball? Like, should you right now? Actually, here we go. I want to turn this. We have a little bit more time. Should you sell Bo Bichette right now?
I've thought about it.
Because did
I've
he just
thought
set the
about it.
record? Did he just set the record?
Yeah, yeah. And his week's over, unfortunately. Yeah, but
But
107. So I bought him for 0.07. His last sale was 0.177, and he's
so
listed for
nice little like
0.19.
2.5x.
Yeah, so I have thought about it, and what I would do with that is I would move. I would use that Ethereum to try and move into the super rare spot, but the only thing is, if I look at the rest of my middle infielders, I have him, and then I have Gene Segura and Carlos Correa and Ketel Marte and Jorge Polanco and Brandon Lau. So Brandon Lau will be in the playoffs, but he barely starts. Polanco and Correa might make it in if the Guardians completely collapse, and then Gene Segura should make it on the back end. So my point being, I only have one middle infielder who like I know is going to be in the postseason,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of why I want to hold him
Gotcha.
because I want to have utility in the postseason. Is that
So
smart? I don't know.
because like, have you seen the volatility in the baseball market? So like, if Bo Bichette has an offer this weekend, what will he be?
I think he'll still stay up.
Okay.
Not that
I'm
high.
genuinely
Right.
I don't have a
Yeah.
take in
No,
this.
I think he will. I think players like Kyle Tucker was a guy who I was banging the table
Is that
as
who I
like
have? Do I have him?
you
Is
might.
that the guy I won? Astra?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
him. I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
him. That's
Right.
how well I know baseball. I'm like, do I have it? I think I do.
So he's a local kid too. Um, he was a big value, and then he had a big week and went into the stratosphere and still has not come down. Probably because he should have been up there to begin with.
To
But
begin with, he was
so
undervalued, and people just somehow glossed over him.
yeah, the way the market is currently, it's really hard to predict because prices were dipping, 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 and now they're like up and like increasing 1 to 5% generally from game week to game week. Like they're still going up now. So I
That's
know
cool.
if I did sell Bichette right now, I wouldn't get him back.
Right. But the question becomes because you've been having a lot of luck really playing your matchups and playing your projections
Right.
more than anything and just taking the data driven approach.
Yes.
So then the next question becomes like, if you didn't sell him and he doesn't show up as like the guy to play for a while, was that a missed opportunity? There's
So
not an answer to that. I get it.
so based on he was a guy I bought because he popped in my value projection, like just points projected divided by the ETH they're selling for. Right now, Bo Bichette is the at his current price is the 38th least valuable for his sale price.
Right. Which means if you were complete analytics, if you are a disciple of Billy Bean, like you want to be, there's a 0% chance that you should be holding him.
Yeah, I'm
Is what you just said.
kind of thinking about selling him right now
And then
because I can get it.
he goes for 120 this weekend. And when we come back on this, Alex will go, damn you, Keith.
Now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm thinking about it because I could sell him and get a Jose Ramirez, who I have as still the top projected scorer the rest of the season.
I mean, that is the brand.
It is. The other thing, though, the other thing to consider, not only the playoff utility, and this is where things are changing for me. Bo Bichette is also the fourth best projected player next season.
So, quick question. So that's a different story, but I think that we both agree that there will be a dip in the offseason as well.
Yeah.
So versus right now, you kind of said it's a peak. One other thing I was just gonna say on the topic of like the volatility is, I think if this does go more, so it's weird to say mainstream, but if this does go blow up even more, and you do have less of like, what did you say, 78% of the MLB users are football users? Let's say that number is 50%.
Yeah.
Like the reactions will be so much more volatile, because right now you have people that do understand the dynamics of, even though they don't do it, like because Sorare players in general, like us, aren't the smartest in terms of like how we value our players. Like, really just saying that we are at a high right now, so let's sell off. It's like, no, he's good right now, I'm keeping him. Whereas, I think the general public goes in, they go, Bo Bichette, oh my God, I can't win without Bo Bichette.
Right.
I can't win. I need one now.
I'm listing him on there.
I know. I have you thinking. I have you thinking.
Well,
no, I just think it's a cool thing. And then I think NBA, by the way, just because we're getting close to end, I think NBA will have the most vicious cycle of like, dude, rest. F this guy.
Yeah,
I'm done with him.
Yeah, I'm over
That's the second straight week of him resting 10 minutes before lock.
Right.
I'm done with him. And that's the one thing I wonder if people
look forward to that.
Oh man, I think the NBA so rare tilt will be out of this world. Like the first time that somebody spends a ton of money on Anthony Davis, and like he what was the one last year? I mean, Anthony Davis, that nobody knows, has experienced every injury to his body.
Yeah.
Including, I think one time I made a joke about like his fingernail got cracked and he had to leave. And I actually think that within a week it was like a toenail or something like that. Like he actually had like a toenail infection. I'm like, oh my God, no.
Poor guy.
But people will tilt the crap out of him, especially when he drops like whatever the scoring system is. I mean, Anthony Davis healthy it's like a cheat code.
Yeah.
But he's gonna drop these scores and then miss 4 months with like a twisted ankle.
Yeah. And then when guys rest, it's gonna make people even more mad, like you said. Like at the end of the year, that sort of thing. People are gonna get big mad.
Oh yeah, so I think it'll be really, really curious how they do the game weeks, and I don't even want to like postulate on it, like whether it's weekly, daily, every 3 games. Like I have no idea. I trust the team at this point enough to know what's going to make the most sense. I still resonate back to Maxime. I think was talking to Laird, or it may have been with Andy too. I don't remember what show it was about baseball, and like Maxime, head of Sorare data, like probably like top 1% of smartest dudes in this ecosystem, right? And he flat out said, he's like, I don't envy them at all. He's like, I run through this in my head and I don't have a correct answer for how they should do these game weeks, how they should do the scoring. And what's the actual takeaway? Like they kind of killed it, right? Like MLBs are really,
it's the best thing they possibly could have done.
They nailed it, right? So
they did. Yeah, just because the way that games fall, like everybody plays Monday, everybody plays Friday, pretty much.
So they crushed it.
Makes the most sense. Yeah.
Where you have like truly smart people, like some of the smartest people I know that are like, I have no flipping clue how they're going to do this. Are they going to do it daily? Are they going to do it weekly? And they put out a format and everybody goes, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
And the scoring's great from everything I can hear. Like I haven't heard any complaining really about the scoring. The only complaint is that Spencer Strider should be a starting pitcher, so he doesn't cheat.
That is a thing that they need to look at going forward, is how they're going to do positional eligibilities. The other
make
thing,
sure they don't create a cheat card,
Right. The other thing too that I saw mentioned that I do believe should be factored in are achievement points. So like
that's coming.
Complete game shutout stuff.
I think so. You mean like bonuses?
Yeah. I think like the way that you get a triple double in football, like
that'd be cool.
they're going to have that in basketball, I imagine,
Like a
because that's a big part
cycle.
of the sport.
A
But
cycle should be
yeah,
something.
cycle. But like anything to level pitchers with hitters, or like give pitchers the same chance at big game weeks as a hitter. Like Strider had 16 strikeouts in a complete game shutout and had 60 points, whereas Bo Bichette put up a 75 in a game, which like
But
Strider won that game for the Braves, and Bichette could have hit 3 homers and they could have lost 4-3.
right. No, it makes sense. I sit there and then go, I guess utility makes it a little bit more important, but I was just like, well, everybody has to play starting pitcher and everybody has to play a relief pitcher, so that kind of levels it out too. That Strider doing the 60 was probably that much more than only relief pitcher I know is Devin Williams because I own him. Like he's that much more, so that gap gave you what you needed anyways. So.
Value over replacement player.
Right.
The ability to score more over the people who can play that position. And
right. It's just like soccer. Like goalie.
It's my white whale. It's
right.
it's the piece of data that I'm chasing down that I still can't get. I still can't figure it out because the places that I'm trying to scrape data don't allow me to get the data I need to calculate it. And
so do you think it exists? It exists. You just
it absolutely exists. I used it for my fantasy baseball season long draft because the Athletic
you would.
Well, yeah, and we won 100 games for the second straight year. Like it's key though, because like if I can find a guy who generates more value at this position, and like it's the thing, like in real baseball and fake baseball, it's some people can play in some spots and you need to maximize what you can get out of each spot you can fill. And that's really the name of the game.
I really hope that one of our 6 listeners is like a baseball GM somehow, so we can get you promoted.
That's the goal, baby.
That's the goal. So see, after all this time, the goal of this niche little podcast is to get Alex to run a baseball team. That's it.
At least in the front office. I'm gonna level with you. Yesterday I did look at I started a programming course and I looked at data analyst jobs for the Rays and the Guardians just to see what I needed to get in the front office. So that is the end goal.
No more asking, does anybody know Python? And I'm like, is that a snake, Alex?
Dude, it's most things come to me pretty easy, and stuff like that, like analytical stuff, and it's gonna take a while.
That's a trip. But obviously you understand the dynamics of the game. You're doing really, really well on that side. Any final little topics before we kind of wrap up?
No, I'm gonna get yelled at if I don't walk my dog.
I was gonna say, I will just say this. I hope if anybody's watching this on television that I snuck the baby in the hands for 30 minutes out. I hope that it wasn't complete disaster on the back end of the sound, because that would be an accomplishment in myself.
I didn't even notice that did you hand him off?
Oh yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Well, no, I didn't hand him off. He's back over there on the bouncer, just chilling, loving.
I don't know how he got there though. That's the thing. We paused for you to get him.
I gave you the wait.
I didn't notice. I didn't even
love it. Hopefully when it comes through audio, it'll be as seamless. But dude, this is fun. So just for like programming notes, Thursdays now. We made this Wednesdays for 1 week, and then I messaged Alex. I'm like, dude, I had to take my kid to school on Wednesdays at 8. That's no good for our recording time. So these will come out on Thursdays. It was a hell of a lot of fun. Alex, thanks for joining on. I'll talk to you next weekend. And real quick, first pitch.
Probably have another one tomorrow.
Sweet.
Yep. Mondays and Fridays generally.
GM, 1 of 6 GM guy. Make sure you listen.
Yes, please.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Again, find us. Make sure if you enjoy this, if you're still around, like, subscribe, comment. And then if you haven't checked out the pod feed, at some point we're probably going to take this this show to its own YouTube, my site, FSI. I really appreciate them letting us put it on there, but at some point it should be separated. That's just DFS stuff. I don't want to clog up that feed with this, so we're gonna try to get our own feed. But make sure you're subscribing to the pod. Sorare First Pitch on both Spotify and Apple. All right, that I'll say. See you.